Okay.
Hey, what is up guys? MKBHD here, and welcome back to some extended coverage of the world's most densely packed keynote, WWDC 2019. So one of the many things they showed off on stage during that 2-hour plus event was the next version of iOS 13. So I sat through that 2.5-hour keynote, so you don't have to, and I installed the super buggy iOS 13 beta on my iPhone, so you don't have to either. So these are the best of those new features coming to iOS for your future iPhone, or maybe your current iPhone. Top 5 iOS 13 features. So number 5 is the speed optimizations. So this is a pretty minor thing, it seems. They sort of opened with it for a hot minute, and if you blinked, you might have missed it. But they made some pretty bold claims about iOS 13's speed versus the already really fast iOS 12. They went along the lines of 30% faster Face ID unlocking, and 50% smaller packages for app downloads and 60% smaller for app updates. So there should be much faster downloads and installing of apps, especially the bigger ones, and 2 times faster launch speeds. Wow. Now again, this is a beta, so these things are still being worked on, and I don't know if it's a placebo, but the one thing I do feel like I notice is the faster Face ID unlock, especially when putting it side by side against iOS 12. The 2 times faster app launching speeds, that is tough to see because the beta is so buggy and things are constantly crashing and lagging all the time, so I can't verify that, but I'm really looking forward to that. Overall, iOS 12 is already faster than previous versions, especially on older devices, so I'll welcome another free speed upgrade. The number 4 is shared wireless audio. So this is like a headphone splitter, but for AirPods. So they showed it on stage as 2 people sort of holding their iPhones near each other and then enabling audio sharing so they can basically hear the same thing from one source. So then that gets your mind going about different ways that this could be useful. That could be fun for 2 people next to each other on a plane watching the same movie together, but both with wireless headphones, or maybe going for a run with someone and both listening to the same music at the same time. Things like that. So it seems like a pretty cool feature to have. Now, I say seems like it because I haven't gotten it to work yet on my beta. I tried for a while. Apparently other people have gotten it to work. I'm just going to attribute it to the fact that it's super unstable. But this is something that I'm going to be thankful for having when traveling. So it's a solid new audio feature that, of course, takes advantage of having Bluetooth 5.0. Then number 3 is the new keyboard. And I can put new in air quotes because Android's had this feature for, I want to say, maybe about a decade now. But the stock keyboard now in iOS 13 has swipe typing, and that's it. So you could do this with third-party keyboards like Swipe or the Google keyboard if you installed them on your iPhone in the past, but now it'll be built in so you can have all your keyboard suggestions and everything you're used to in one place with swipe typing. I personally love it for typing longer sentences on bigger screens. Not sure if this is also coming to iPadOS, but it's welcome on the iPhone. Okay, so those last 3 were a bit more minor updates, as you could tell, but I think these next 2, the top 2, are pretty major. So number 2 is an overhaul of what's maybe one of the top 3 most used apps on anyone's iPhone, the Photos app. So I got a pretty good demo of this at WWDC, but it's also working pretty well on my beta too. Basically, the UI is organized a bit different, and it gets a bunch of new features that I like. So at the bottom, you have these couple of different photo modes. You have all photos mode, which is literally just a grid of everything. Then days mode, which lets you scroll through the best photos you've taken each day with sort of smart highlights of certain ones that thinks you'll like. Then months, again, zooms a bit out and gives you the best photos of each month. And then years, again, zooms out, giving you a throwback of some of the best stuff from each previous year, 2018, 2017, 2016, etc. Sort of a rewind of what happened around that day each year. And then when you're actually in a photo, the editing controls are pretty sweet. They got an upgrade. They're much more extensive and smartly laid out and fluid. You can do auto adjustments if you want, or really dig down into there with contrast and color, sharpening, noise reduction. And there's also red eye correction built in, and you can still mess with the same filters as before. But the best part, to me anyway, is that this also applies to videos. So you can mess with the same edits to color, contrast, sharpness, even noise reduction for video is still there, which is amazing. And this also means you can now rotate a video, which you literally could not do in iOS 12's Photos app, along with flipping, and there's tilting and warping and perspective changes for every single clip. You can even change the aspect ratio. So there's a lot going on, and I'm a fan. And I hope Google Photos also can build this stuff in too eventually. And that brings us to number 1, the most anticipated feature of iOS. It got the loudest cheer, or at least one super loud one from the crowd, and that is dark mode in iOS 13. So love it or hate it, people have been wishing for this and asking for it for years. The default all white colors of iOS can be blinding, so now there's a system-wide dark mode. You can enable it from the control center, and it turns all your stock apps and menus and notifications and widgets and everything dark. Dark backgrounds, light text, the whole stock UI. Now, all the third-party apps inside those, you still have to change them yourself. So if you want everything dark, like YouTube and Twitter and all the rest, you have to toggle those yourself. But yeah, that quick toggle for the UI is now super simple and easy to switch everything black. And now with that, there's also some new wallpapers to go with it, built into iOS 13. So these actually, the couple new ones with the little dark and light logo in the corner are dark mode compatible, I guess I'll say. So they will automatically switch when you toggle dark mode. They'll switch between them back and forth between dark and light. Plus, if you don't use one of these, you can turn on dimming, so whatever wallpaper you have will dim to be darker if you have dark mode on. And hey, you might even save a little bit of battery since the iPhones, of course, all use OLED displays that don't use power when the color black is displayed. So there it is. Finally, dark mode for iOS 13. There's also a couple smaller things that didn't quite make this list, kind of like how every year Apple always has that little extra slide with all the stuff that they wanted to make sure you knew were getting included, but they didn't have time to go over. So if you actually pause on that exact slide from the keynote this year, they actually did it again, and there's something called Wi-Fi selection in Control Center. So now, if you're in Control Center, you can 3D touch the Wi-Fi icon and a list of networks pop up. Seems like the intuitive thing to do. Bluetooth does the same thing, and that's actually something that the newest beta of Android just got rid of. There's also Memoji improvements, so you can add piercings now to your Memoji, or even put AirPods in its ears, so I guess that's a thing worth knowing. There's also Login with Apple, which is designed to replace other social logins, but with much more security instead as the focus. Like a really impressive dedication to shielding your information from the companies that keep asking for your login. So they'll generate a dedicated login email address randomly every time you log in, so they can't swipe yours. Very nice. And then the volume box, of course, is finally fixed. So for reference, here was iOS 12 and the ridiculous volume changing. And here is iOS 13 right next to the volume rocker, nice and small, clean, much better. So that is it. That is the best of the new features coming to iOS 13 that we know about anyway. My personal favorite is still dark mode, so obviously I put that at number 1, but let me know what you're looking forward to most in the comments below. And this is still super early in the beta. It'll be a public beta in about a month, and then eventually rolling out to people beyond that. So you can expect it stable in a little ways time. But either way, that's been it. Thank you for watching. Catch you guys later. Peace.